Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Wednesday, November 20th. The Pittsburgh Steelers are wrapping up their preparation for their Thursday night football game against the Cleveland Browns today on the South Side. Practice closed to the public on the media on days before games, but it is like a Friday practice for the Steelers here today. We'll get their final injury report before 4 p.m. today. And then I'll be back here on the YouTube channel with Smitty, the Steelers Afternoon Drive at about 6. And then the Steelers will be traveling from Pittsburgh to Cleveland tonight. I will be traveling from Pittsburgh to Cleveland tomorrow with Ed Thompson and Brendan Howe of SteelersNow.com as we roll into game day in Cleveland. It looks like it's going to snow in Cleveland. Flurries throughout the day, and then some lake effect snow hitting right about game time, which I will love, and Ed will probably hate. So sorry, Ed, but I'm going to be enjoying the views from the press box. Might have a little cup of coffee. Sure, I'll be in a t-shirt. Nice and warm and comfortable. Also supposed to be very windy, 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So may not be the day for the passing game, and it may not be the day for the topic that I'm going to talk about today, which was brought up by one of the audience members a couple of days ago. Blitzburg 9066. Is that Watt Faneca or are those just numbers? Because Watt Faneca, that's a solid collection of Hall of Famers. Right there. He asked the other day, George Pickens is top 3 in receiving yards right now. Could be a morning rush topic on how Russ has unlocked him and helped him become a Pro Bowl caliber star player. I think there's a lot to this that I really don't have an answer to, but I'll give you an answer to what I've got. I think the biggest difference between what we saw, and it's not like it's not like there's this dramatic, catastrophic change in the player George Pickens has been with Russell Wilson compared to who he's been in the past. George Pickens' best game as a receiver ever came with Mason Rudolph. Actually, I think 2 of his best game ever came with Mason Rudolph. He had another really good game with Kenny Pickett. He had really good games with Mitch Trubisky. He had really good games with Justin Fields. So I don't want to say this is a Russ thing. In fact, his best game statistically this season was at Indianapolis when he was targeted 11 times, caught 7 for 113 yards. Justin Fields, a quarterback. So I don't think there's anything too... I don't want to give Russ too much credit for this. George Pickens has always been an incredible talent that has had the ability to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Why does he seem like he's unlocking a little bit more of that with a little bit more regularity right now? I think that's because his talents and Russ's talents mesh really nicely. And I think Russ is the kind of quarterback that understands the risk reward a little bit better than maybe some other guys he's had in terms of when to throw that ball. Russ's deep ball is his best attribute. It always has been. George Pickens' combat catch ability on deep passes is his best ability, always has been. Pickens does not need to be open to throw that ball, to throw that cover 2 hole shot, to throw a back shoulder against cover 3 or man-to-man. He can be covered. You just throw it, and George catches it anyway. And I think Russ's experience has taught him that is okay to throw. Like that it is okay to throw it to a guy who's not open. I think some other quarterbacks that George have had hesitancy to throw to a player who does not look open. And I think Russ is just willing to let it fly in that circumstance. There's a trust level there that I think they've developed that is good. I think most of it, though, is the fact that this is just what Russ has always been good at. This is what George has always been good at. And those two things line up. The other thing I'm seeing is that Arthur Smith is doing a really, really good job of finding other ways to get George Pickens open. How many games, especially when Kenny Pickett was the quarterback, did you see George Pickens catch, I don't know, 4 or 5 of those back shoulder fade balls against one-on-one coverage on the outside? But that would be his game. He would have, 3 targets for 70 yards. Okay. Like, there are 3 catches for 70 yards. That would be his whole game. I think you're seeing more and more ways that Arthur Smith is getting George Pickens free in different areas of the field. I think he's been really effective in the 5-yard range, just like getting some free yards. They could probably be doing more of that. So I think he's a bigger part of the offense than he was before too. But again, I don't think that's a Fields Russ thing. I think that's an Arthur Smith thing. If you look this year, George's yards per reception last year were 18.1. This year they're down to 15.2, but his yards per game are up from 67.1 to 72.8. So he is averaging less per reception, but is gaining more per game because he's a bigger part of the offense. He's not just a fade, back shoulder, whole shot merchant. Like he can do more than that. And I think I think he's always been able to do more than that. I don't think the offensive scheme under Matt Canada really allowed him to do more than that. I think you're seeing Arthur Smith be able to utilize him in better ways. So if you want to know why, let's also talk about, like, George Pickens is 3rd in the league in receiving right now. That's true. But through 9 games, he has 728 yards. He had 1140 last year. So he's on pace to do, like I said, the yards per game is up, but it's up 5 yards. I mean, so he's on pace to do, what's 5 times 17? 85, 100 more yards than last year, maybe. So it's not like it's not some dramatic difference in George Pickens here as of late or in this season. I just think it's steady, continual growth as a player. As a person, I think he's done a better job of not taking himself out of games this year than he has in the past. And just as a part of the offense, I think he is a bigger part of what they're trying to do now, and I think he's earned that bigger part of what they're trying to do. The real interesting question is, what's going to happen with his contract? He's in a contract year in 2025. Will the Steelers and Pickens be able to come to an agreement on a contract next offseason? I'm very curious to see what happens there, and I have literally no idea what a new deal for George is going to look like. Obviously, he has the talent to be a top 5 wide receiver, but he has not always played like it. I think we're still a long way from having that answer. Also, like I said, may not be the world's best passing environment this year, or this week, with 20-mile-an-hour winds, snow coming off the lake there. But Cleveland, not very good against the pass this year, middle of the road. And I don't like any of their corners matched up against George Pickens. This could certainly be a game where he could go off. That's all I got for now. Be back with more with Smitty at 6. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode of Morning Rush, Afternoon Drive, Sights and Sounds, Post Game. Our new show with Aaron Becker on Saturday called Steelers Spotlight, where we'll have a one-on-one interview with a member of the news-making community, a player, a coach, a member of the media, something like that. And if you're listening somewhere else, make sure you give us a 5-star review and subscribe there as well. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, enjoy.